Yeah, I was happy with the way we played this past weekend. I thought the boys were really focused. Had a good week of practice last week. Made some good adjustments and improved. Played really well for the majority of the weekend. And obviously, you're going to Ohio State this weekend. They're a talented team. Will be really talented on the mound. I know a lot of the kids at Ohio State recruited, or multiple of them when I was at Wright State. Um, I'm looking forward to that. But a 4-game set on the road, anytime you have that, it's a big time opportunity, certainly against a talented team to go out and play well.
All right, we'll start off with Tom Brew.
Hey, Jeff, touched on it a little bit before, but wanted to get a little bit more thoroughly if I could. When you're trying to prepare for a 4-game series as opposed to 3, what goes into it when starting at 3 o'clock Friday in regards to decisions you're making in game 1 that might affect 2, 3, and 4 and such? And I know Penn State was different because we had the cancellation and everything was messed up, but what goes into it, the mindset of playing an inning at a time when you got 36 to play?
Well, it's interesting, that started last weekend. You and I talked about this, but had pre-planned short starts for our starters last weekend, leaning on the bullpen a little bit more heavily. We had a few bumps and bruises on the mound, so we were a little bit light where we normally are, although we pitched it really well. In preparation for a 4-game weekend this weekend, knowing things are going to get stretched out, and then down on the long run. So you try to prepare the guys. We have a very strong stance on pitch counts if at all possible, player safety. I'm always going to err on the side of caution with those things. So making sure those guys are prepared for what's coming this next weekend. So it starts the previous weekend, and it goes into matchups and making sure guys are in positions to stay healthy. The doubleheader on Saturday. Always as the outfield coach and a position coach, I always worry about hamstrings. It's like that. It's always in the back of your mind, and guys' hamstrings and groins and those things. It just play that much baseball. So you're trying to look at making sure you have matchups. Can you get guys in the ball game to extend the window of guys' health over the course of a weekend? But a lot of times it comes with pitching the previous week, setting them up to be able to have extended outings the following week. How you manage practice during the midweek. And we had a really short scrimmage yesterday. It'll be a lighter day today. We'll practice at home on Thursday and then just drive up, try to get a good night's sleep. So you do make some adjustments the best that you can, mostly in your recovery and in preparation to be able to handle the more innings, more time at the ballpark, kind of those things.
Sean and then John.
You guys have won all of your series so far, only an individual loss here and there, and your batting gets better week to week. You keep posting your season high in the new series. Mm-hmm. Is there an aspect that you guys are still focusing on that you think could use some work with a lot going right for both pitching and batting right now?
Yeah, a couple things. From an offensive standpoint, last week was my first week back with the offense. The coaches did a great job in my absence. But for me, being able to come back, I do the bulk of the throwing of the batting practice and a lot of our sim game stuff. That's why I take a lot of pride in. So for me personally, being back, a great emphasis was on hitting with runners in scoring position. So I threw a lot of sim game stuff. I threw a lot of sim game stuff yesterday. I actually, funny note, I actually pitched in college before I hit in college and was more a primary pitcher in high school. So that really does help a ton when you're coaching hitters, being able to throw and pitch and those things. But hitting with guys in scoring position, guys on base, you can talk about the theory of it all you want, but until you're actually in the moment and applying what you've been taught with the stress, with the anxiety, it's just hard to understand, especially for a group that, a lot of those guys, obviously no one played baseball last year really. And then all those guys have never really played college baseball. Even if they're a second year guy, they never have played really. So all the things you talk about from an offensive standpoint, now it's actually in the moment, dealing with the anxiety and the stress of it. And so now we have a chance. Coaching, so much of it is timing. So like the availability to learn. And so now I can go back and be like, hey, this is what happened. Here's video. Let's reassess this. And let me go pitch to you exactly like you're going to be pitching a game. So that was a big point of emphasis initially with the offense. On the mound, we need to get off to better starts. I don't have a problem, when a guy doesn't have his best stuff or has a little bit of a shaky start. but we have to be able to control fastball. We have fastball command in the bullpen. We need to take fastball command of the game, and we need to be able to establish a fastball in the strike zone consistently. We can't walk the leadoff guy of the game. We can't walk the leadoff guys of innings to start ball games. We just have to be more competitive early in the ball game with those things. And those guys are capable of doing it. They've shown they can do it. Our pitching has been absolutely tremendous. So I'm really thrilled with those guys. But those are the two things that we just need to get off to better starts on the mound, as far as not giving away free opportunities. We need to get better with hitting with guys on base in the scoring position. That was obviously a struggle to begin the season. That's no great mystery. We got better at that in the last 3 or 4 games. I was pleased with that. I was pleased with our mentality. We'll continue to get better there. We've been really good defensively for the most part. This past weekend, you go to a natural surface, a wet field, 35-mile-an-hour winds, and Sunday it's 20 or it's 30 degrees outside. So, I mean, you're going to have a little bit of that as you kind of ebb and flow, but getting back on turf will be good, and we've been good defensively for the most part. So I would say those couple things are our main areas of focus, and we'll continue to focus on those things. And a lot of it, they just don't know. We always kind of joke, there's like 3 phases of a player. You don't know what you don't know. Then you know that you don't know, and then you know that you know, right? And a lot of the kids are in that, they don't even know what they don't know until the games start. And now it's like, oh, I know, but I don't know how to do it yet. And that's when you have to come in there and really, really coach. Like you have to coach more. You have to coach all the time, but you have to coach more in the midweek than you do in any other time of the year, because you have actual applicable data and experiences to pull from and to help them improve. And that's when the biggest jumps get made on how to play the game.
Thank you.
John, and then Carl.
Drew Ashley, he drew a walk in that last game to get his on base streak to about 39 games. Why has he just been so effective getting on base, I guess, dating back to last season to this season? And how much does that just benefit your offense, having this leadoff guy who is always on every game?
Well, the incredible thing about Drew was the hitting leadoff is a learned behavior for him. I don't know where he hit the lineup in high school, but I know when we initially talked about him hitting leadoff, he and I talked a lot about just the role and how to be in that position. He's such a great teammate, a team player, where what do you need me to do? And then I'll find a way to be a professional at what you need me to do. And last year, when we had kind of the turnover of the roster, it's like, man, Drew, we really need a leadoff guy. We need someone that can go up there and have an at bat, see pitches, communicate pitches, and just find a way to get on base. Like, we just need you to get on base. I don't care how you do it. And he just looks, he's like, okay, I can do that. And then he goes on his task like he does everything. He's an incredible student. He's an incredible person. It's like he just goes on a mission to become the best at whatever you need him to do. So, I mean, he's played infield, right? He's played infield for us on the Big Ten championship team. He's caught for us. Now he's doing a really good job in the outfield. It's like, what do you need me to do? And I'll go and find a way to do it. So I think that's the first thing, is appreciating, obviously you, but just all of us in general, appreciating and respecting that this wasn't something that he had his whole life, although he was a good player, but like being, such a professional with this one thing is more of a learned thing. But it's also incredibly beneficial for the team, because you have someone that you can look at. It's like yesterday I'm throwing to some of the freshmen, and they're talented, but they don't know yet. And I can use Drew as an example. It's like, do you ever feel like Drew's not in complete control of an at bat, even when it's like an 0-2 or 1-2 count? And it's like, no. I'm like, me neither. And I've watched 100 really good college baseball players, offensive players, over the last 10 years. And I've never felt more confident and comfortable when a guy's in a 2-strike count than when Drew is. He's always in control. And that's something that you can teach guys off of. So you're able to use Drew as an example constantly and say, hey, this is how it's done. This is how you work. This is how you have an at bat. This is how you compete with 2 strikes. This is how you stay in the middle of the field on fastball timing. And it just makes everyone around him better. Not just because he's always on base, which he is always on base, which sets up the offense in a terrific way, but you're able to communicate and use him as an example. In that, especially for a group that has a lot of young guys on it, is probably the most beneficial thing for the group, is to say, okay, do it like Drew does it. And it's like, well, he's also hitting 400. And so it's not like, hey, he's a great kid who works hard, who maybe is a below average player. No, it's like he's a great kid and he works the hardest, and he's one of the best players, if not the best player. So it's like, just do what Drew does. When in doubt, do what Drew does. We should make like a wristband about that. And that just helps the team tremendously overall on both sides.
Carl and then Austin.
All right, Coach. I know it's a fairly short season so far, but if you look at it, your losses have been spread between Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. While in your 2019 Big Ten run, you had 4 losses on Friday, 2 on Saturday, 1 on Sunday. Would you say this more goes to opposing pitching depth or an improvement in your team's ability to hit a guy like Mason Erla?
Both. That we've lost 3 games and they're all to the same profile of left-handed pitcher. So it's the crossfire left-handed pitcher that throws a fastball up and into righties and up and away to lefties, and it's hard. I think we would have hit. The kid on Sunday did a great job, so I don't mean any disrespect. I think we've adjusted and grown enough to manage that now. But just the conditions, you had a 35-mile-an-hour wind blowing in, so it was a really unorthodox at bat for a righty. Into the teeth of the wind, I think that we've improved enough. But that's a great question. One, we've managed. We're much better at managing at bats versus right-handed pitchers, which is the primary arm that we're going to face. No matter the velocity, no matter the stuff, we can manage it. The crossfire lefty that throws a fastball up and in to right-handed batters and up and away to lefties is a really unique look, and it's beat us 3 times. Although I do think we're improving on it. It's just something that we have to continue to get better at, and that's why those guys beat a lot of the teams that they faced. The lefty that you threw against us on Sunday shut out Michigan the week before. And so we just have to continue to have a body of work to learn and to grow from. But one, that there is better pitching depth across the conference this year. I was talking to one of the other head coaches in the Big Ten yesterday. He called to check on everybody with COVID. I said, "How you doing? How's the season going?" And he said, "I've just never seen so many arms, so many good arms in the conference. It seems like every weekend there's 2 big leaguers throwing against you." And obviously the draft, but it's also a statement. They'll shorten draft last year, but it's also a statement of the improvement of the conference and the coaching in the conference. And so the players are better too. The pitching is better, but we're also more prepared to be able to handle the majority of what's thrown to us. The last thing that we really have to be able to manage is, like I've said, is that crossfire lefty that provides a really unique look to the right-handed, and we're predominantly a right-handed offense. And lefties are I always kind of joke with our lefties, and my dad hit left-handed. So he always kind of said lefties, they beat themselves because they imagine that they can't hit left-handed pitching. And it's like, and I always kind of joke with our lefties. I'm like, "Hey, it's all in your head, man." And it's not, but it is hard. I say righties hit righties all the time. Why can't you hit lefties? But I'm obviously kidding. It is a bit of a struggle at times, and those guys have gotten better at it. But it's a great question. I think we're better. I think we're better prepared. I think we understand the application of the approach system that I've been so adamant about for the last couple of years, and they understand more and more why it's so important to be able to have an adjustable approach that's steadfast in every situation. And then I think that the conference pitching is better.
Austin and then Tom.
Well, the first thing is I guess I don't know the timetable, but when is Justin Parker able to return to the team, and how important will it be to get him back working with the pitchers again?
He was back yesterday for practice.
Okay.
Came back in yesterday. He'll be in today for practice again. It'll be helpful. It'll be helpful. Sagerman did a terrific job this past weekend and calling pitches and managing. He's the best. He's the best in the business at what he does, and stepped right in for Justin. It will be good to have Justin back, just come from a relationship standpoint with the pitchers. Just, he's got 30 starts under his belt with those guys, and in between fall and spring. And so that part will be helpful. And it also is nice with Tim, the dugout with me. We just have such a rapport where we're able to communicate back and forth on certain things. But I do want to make it, very well known how well the other coaches have done stepping up. And in my absence and his absence, it's not an easy thing to do. And to go, what we go 4, 6, 8, 8-2 with our coaching staff and kind of in disarray is a statement to the kids and to the other coaches that stepped up. So it'll be good to have Justin back. He does a really good job, and it will help as he's kind of managing some of the personalities of the pitching staff.
Tom and then John.
Jeff, last week the Big Ten lifted the league-wide restrictions on attendance at games, and some of the schools, including Purdue, are allowing 50% fans. But the Indiana Athletic Department had decided to keep things status quo. I was wondering how all that played out, and if they had any conversations with you at all, or how you feel about it, and if you hope maybe it gets revisited before the season ends.
Yeah, if you know somebody to call, let me know. Yeah, I would love to. I talked to my administrator, and we'll continue to talk to him about it. Yes, like you said, as far as I've been told right now, we're in a status quo. I wish that would change. I think it's a university policy. It's going to have to go through Monroe County. It's going to have to go through the university. I think the athletic department wants to be able to allow fans. I don't think that they don't want that. I think probably the NCAA tournament being at Indiana was probably on the top of the list. And hopefully, as we kind of clear through the NCAA tournament, we're able to revisit the subject. You've just seen a lot of the different stipulations being lifted and mandates being lifted and opening up a little bit here. So hopefully, we'll follow suit. I don't know that it's. I do know that it's definitely not my call, and it's way above my head, and I respect that. But at the same time, I do think it has to be a partnership with the university and Monroe County to be able to allow the athletic department to do those things. So between the university and Monroe County, they'll give us the kind of the marching orders, and I think we'll follow from there. I know we'll follow from there.
All right, John, wrap us up.
Just a question about a guy who got some playing time last year as a freshman, just got his first at bat, Ethan Vikrumba at Michigan State. So kind of where does he sit in terms of playing time? Obviously it took him a while to get an at bat. Kind of what's his kind of place in the mix, I guess, would you say?
Sure. Ethan's a terrific kid. He's a really hard worker, and he's talented. He is talented. You look at him in that right now, we look at him in that DH pinch hit role if the matchup's right, kind of depending upon what the other guys do in situationally. But he had a really good couple weeks of practice, and that's why I thought, in that moment, the Ben Schouder kid, I believe that's how you pronounce his name, had been their Friday guy, and I knew they were going to throw him on Saturday because that's what I would do if I had a close game. I'd throw my best arm out of the pen, and I assumed that lefties were better. I knew that there was some statistical reference to that, but once I saw just how much better they were, Fusey walks on 4 pitches, Jesse singles quickly, and watching Ethan have a really good week of practice, I said, hey, this guy's a really good matchup in this situation. So I gave Ethan probably too short a notice to get ready, and he walked in and had a really good at bat and did a good job. So in the right situations at the right time, doing things like he did, there in that moment, being able to step up and have a good at bat, get a base knock, or I think they scored it in there, but it should have been a base knock or a field's choice, whatever it was. But continuing to do those things during practice, you get your opportunities, you go in and you play well, and then you earn a bigger role. But his role is growing as he continues to practice and play well in the midweek, and it'll continue to grow on the weekend as the opportunities present themselves. But he's a talented kid. He's an awesome kid and a really hard worker. And you're always pulling for guys like that to have success.